Hey, Jennifer,
Hi, Sarah.
let's do this. Thank you so much for inviting this opportunity, an opportunity to chat about the session that you did while we were in Asheville. But I want to start off just by introducing myself to those who are watching. My name is Sarah Mount. I'm a Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique practitioner, level 2, currently in Southern Nevada. And Jennifer, you're going to meet in just a second. She and I have become friends, and we are walking a similar path, both as QHHT practitioners. I'm going to invite her to share a little bit more about her journey now. So, Jennifer, over to you.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, I started out with Dolores Cannon in 2021. I was already on her Facebook page and sharing her content, and I had my first session uh, later that year. And then I decided in 2022 to take the class. That was exciting. I didn't realize I could take her class until Sarah Breskman Cosme was on my newsfeed, and she was saying that there's a class, and it was during COVID, so everything was moved online. So for me, that was really convenient. I breezed through the training. It was amazing. I immediately took level two. Um, and at that point in time in my life, I was working full time as a nurse practitioner in a primary care clinic, a family primary care. And so I began to actually share an office space with someone that was already doing some healing work. Quickly got my internship completed, and then my life took a pretty big change. I started realizing with Dolores Cannon's work that I could get to the root of the problem. Whereas a nurse practitioner, I'm trained to understand symptoms, pathophysiology. I'm trained to prescribe medicine. I'm not trained to get to the root of the problem. I'm trained to kind of treat symptoms and to suppress the symptoms. And so that doesn't really feel aligned with where I am, where I was in my career. Now that I know that we can go so much deeper and that symptoms are really based in the body, and emotions and trapped traumas can live there and cause symptoms in particular parts of the body. And that was really something that was more interesting to me than prescribing at that point in time. So, yeah, to QHHT offers so much that medicine doesn't. It takes a completely different approach, and so that's where I found myself was wanting to do that kind of work.
So cool.
And yeah, yeah, and so that's how I found QHHT and Dolores Cannon. Um, it's an amazing work, and I'm honored to be able to help people with this method of therapy.
For sure. Thank you for all of that. And what we're going to talk about today is you taking advantage of the healing that's available through QHHT yourself.
Hmm.
So, just to frame that out, you and I just spent some time in Asheville, North Carolina, and we were gathering there with a bunch of other beautiful souls to reunite and to build new connections and to really be in the spirit of QHHT. And during that retreat, which was 5 days long, you and I had set an intention to do a session. So on the day of your session, I went to your hotel room and we started having a chat, an interview of sorts. And that interview went on for a couple hours. I would love it if you would be willing to share with the audience, the folks who are watching, what is that like? So you are familiar with the QHHT session process, but let's not leave any stone unturned. Like, let's really talk through your experience. Like, what was the interview like for you?
Wow. Well, the interview was, it went really deep, and I talked about parts of my life that I haven't shared with anyone. Um, we did a life review. We started from, covered the whole life, and seeing your life all at one time is really revealing, as opposed to just recalling bits and pieces here and there. So it really unearthed a lot of feelings that wasn't even aware that I still had, kind of hidden. It was a really beautiful review. And we were also able to talk about my questions, the questions that I have for my higher self, to share those and the answers that I was looking for in that portion of the session. Yeah.
Sure. For sure. So yeah, we spent a couple of hours together, really diving deep, creating just a little bubble of sharing and of trust and of grounded presence. And I'm really grateful that you met me in that. It sounds like it was really powerful for you. And so once I got clear on your questions, I made sure that we reviewed like the 4 great tips for having a great session. I wanted you to remember to recall in that moment what's going to set you up for the best experience possible, to expect that you're going to be aware to some extent during the experience, to describe what you see or feel or think right when you see it, the first thing that comes to your mind. And to do that, describing in as much detail as possible. And then to talk and talk a lot, right? Because you are, as the client in this situation, my eyes and ears. As the facilitator, I really look to you to give me information, which will help me then ask the next question, to just gently guide you. This is a self-guided journey. This is your higher self's curated experience for you. And it's really for me as a practitioner to stay out of the way of that and to just gently guide that. And so we went over those 4 great tips. Then we got you settled in a lying down position and comfortable. I put a mic on you and we got ready for the journey. So then the next step in the session process is that I tell you a story, and I encourage you to allow yourself to go along with that story. So I invite you now to share a little bit about what that experience was going into that deep state of relaxation and what came through for you during that.
So it was very deep. It was a really beautiful, deep state. You never know where you're going to go with a QHHT session. And this particular time, I found myself at an old home that I had as a child. And I saw things from my past that I had forgot. And I was able to recall those scenes as if I was actually there. I was actually a child. And I had the opportunity to re-experience my fears, the rejection, the humiliation, the loneliness, the uncertainty, the chaos, the poverty, just really realizing how much of my childhood experiences were not optimal. And had forgotten those things. And so revisiting those times in your life when you don't have choice was so important for me. I was able to see the events that created sort of the basement foundation layer of my personality and who I am. I was able to see how I survived and these brilliant coping skills that I had employed, making myself small, not talking, basically shrinking into the background. And I could have compassion for all of that because I can see how all of that was a way of getting through a difficult time in my life. And I can really thank those things. And also this experience, it allowed me to process the things that happened to me as a child. I didn't have the processing skills as a child that I have now. And so I was able to go back and in real time, like process those events, which was really amazing. And this session was really pivotal to my healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it followed me into my early adulthood and showed me how the patterns I had developed in childhood repeated and repeated and repeated. And you constantly, Sarah, were asking, how do you feel during this process? Like you were tapping me into those feelings. And yeah, I was a little child in those moments, and the feelings were real, and I was getting to name the emotions that I was having in the moment. As a child, I didn't know I was having humiliation, but as an adult, I look back on it from the child's eyes, and I can say, yeah, I was really humiliated. This makes a lot of sense to me now. Now I know why I feel the way I do, and it just really got me in touch with a lot of core beliefs that I made about myself as a child. It was really a powerful experience, and it was so pivotal to my healing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
From where I was sitting, witnessing what you were going through, it was magnificent. I've not had an experience like that. It was such a gift to me as a practitioner on that journey in my life to witness what unfolded for you. You were so primed for that experience. And so when it unfolded for you, like the amount of detail and the amount of just content that you were made available, that was made available to you to heal.
Yeah.
And you speak to that experience, like when you revisit those scenes, it is an immersive experience. It is a full
Yeah.
contact, like all of your internal senses are activated, even to some extent, smell, but you are in that experience. And I experienced you as staying embodied in this like very spiritual way in each of the scenes that we visited. So as a practitioner, I never know where somebody's going to go either. But once I kind of oriented to where you were, it was very easy to move you forward. I just used the statement, what happens next? And you
Mhm.
would bounce from an experience, say, starting in childhood, in your childhood bedroom, to a different iteration of your childhood experience in a different bedroom. And each of them had a story, and each of them was so full of opportunities to release and to heal and to integrate and to witness that younger version of yourself. You were that person. You were that version of yourself. And
I was.
as you moved into early adulthood, I was interacting with a more adult version of you. And so when you would be in each of these scenes, I would say, what's happening next? You were that version of you. And when I didn't speak to you as if you were that version of you, you would correct me with your language. You would remind me in the way that you spoke about yourself that you were in the present tense in each one of those
Mm.
things. You were reliving those experiences and really, from what I was witnessing, just extracting so much with regard to the witnessing and the healing. And it was beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
And
It was amazing to experience as well.
yeah,
I didn't know that I needed it, but I did. It was so pivotal.
yeah. And you talk about the patterns that, started to be revealed. And then in each progressed scene, you would see it in a different iteration. It
Yeah.
was so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The patterns repeat. It's just repeating. The story changes, but the patterns are the same. The
Exactly.
feelings are the same. The core beliefs were the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So because we regressed you to, or you regressed yourself to earlier in this life, um, what is typical when there is a regression to another lifetime is that I would, as a practitioner, move you through the death scene. Obviously, we did not do that in this case. So I just continued to stay with you and ask that simple question, what happens next, until you arrived at a scene that felt like complete, like a turning point in the session where the pattern had been revealed to you in every sort of facet and dimension. And it seemed at the point that I'm speaking of in the session that you were ready to transition to the next portion.
Yeah.
So, what happens after the life review is that we transition and invite out your subconscious or your higher self. So, I want to invite you to share as the session experience transition to that. What transitioned for you? What came?
Wow. So I left the scenes where I was seeing the homes and the bedrooms and things, and um, sort of a very assertive voice, a very assertive energy kind of took over me. And it was very sure of itself. And it had a lot to say, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a lot to say. One of the things that came out was that caring people doesn't help people and it doesn't help me. It just creates more work for me. It doesn't serve people. People have to find their own way, and it just enables people. So that was one of the big lessons that I learned. And caring people can manifest in a lot of ways. So I became a caretaker in my life, and I was able to see that. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Cool. So the the shift in your tone, even in your cadence, took on this like authority that had
Yeah.
not been present as you were visiting the scenes of your life, and it made me kind of sit up at attention, and be witness to this powerful energy that now I was interacting with. It put me on notice to like be present and be with this version of you, this higher self version of you. That part of you was so ready to speak and so ready to get you very clear on what you had just experienced in the life review so that you didn't miss any opportunity to take from that experience the awareness of your patterns and your readiness to let them go. And what sort of like exists for you on the other side of that release was made very clear to you from your higher self, from the source. So you received a lot of information during that section. And then there's a final sort of phase that we do with the higher self where we conduct what's called like a body scan, or I am already at this point in receipt of information that you want to know, questions that you want to know about your health and your body. So we made our way through each of those areas of interest or desire for healing. Anything you would speak about with regard to that?
Wow. Yeah. I had some questions about some projects and some, things that I'm wanting to move toward. And I got a lot of information. One thing that I was encouraged to do is seek out adventure, right? And create moments that were worth living. I thought that was really interesting. And allow life to surprise me and to wow me and to have fun and to play. What a beautiful message. I learned that I don't need to control, that I can just be in flow. And not being attached to an outcome is so important. Um, I was encouraged that my heart was opening more, and ways to support that. And as my heart opens more and I do more of the work, then the intuitions will come in. I'll be more connected to that part of me. That was a beautiful gift. I was given advice and encouragement for vibrating on my highest timeline, and connecting with people is when I'm in my most joy, in my biggest joy. And when I'm in my biggest joy, that's when I'm in the best space to bless other people and to connect the most with other people, and to be most of service to people. I was encouraged to use my voice. I think the term my higher self is like you have to use it to blow the dust off of it. You have to start using it. And so communication was really important. When something happens, say it. Don't step it down or change yourself because you don't want to get along. And if you feel yourself having a trigger, say what's happening. It's so simple. So yeah, all of these were gifts that my higher self gave to me, and all very beautiful and sound advice. Advice that I am incorporating into my day-to-day practice, and I'm thankful for that.
And as we move through the healing in your body, one of the things that stood out to me was maybe more so than I had experienced before in a session. Um, Not only did your higher self conduct some physical healing for you in session, and was able to affirm to me through questioning, and that's revealed on your recording, that those healings were made complete, that you had received the learning that you needed to receive from the experiences, and these things that were manifesting in your body as either discomfort or like what could be called by a physician a symptom, were very clearly described as energetic and as tied to specific experiences that you had had, lessons that you needed to learn, patterns that you needed to be aware of. And as you moved through the responding to my questions about those experiences, you were able to affirm to yourself, like, this experience is complete. She's learned everything that she needed to learn about this experience. So it can be healed now completely, not to recur. But then there were some that you had some marching orders around. Your higher self gave you very specific instructions. Okay, if she does X, Y, Z, if she follows through on this thing that we're suggesting she needs to do for her highest timeline or for her soul's evolution, then these experiences will be resolved. Then they can be relieved or healed. But it's not complete yet. Would you speak about any of that?
Yeah. So at some point when we were in session, I had this sensation of discomfort in my hip before, and it's because sometimes I feel stuck. Sometimes there's some fear. I don't want to step out, so I feel stuck, and I recognize that that is the cause. But as I was seeing my patterns, and hearing this information from my higher self about, you know, being in flow and seeking out adventure and getting out of the stuck place, I felt this sudden jolt. And I don't know, Sarah, if you could see it, but I kind of like felt like a internally, and it was right where a sciatic nerve would be perceived. And You hadn't asked about that yet. And I think I might have even said something like, whoa, or something, because I noticed it like zinged me. And I haven't had that sensation or discomfort since then. And you asked, is this, yeah, thank you. You asked is about the healing. And I think my higher self said something like, it's already done. Like, she felt that. It happened already. It's already gone.
Yeah, we already fixed
Just
that.
like that. Yeah. Yeah. It's done.
It was
What
awesome.
you talking about? So it was great. And yes, about my vision, I am, um, my body is repairing that and more as I see things. Like I'm always saying, "Oh, it's so clear now. I can see it so clear." And I know that that's affirmation that my vision is coming back online. I've had cataracts since I was a child, and having revisited my childhood, I can see why I had cataracts as a child because there's a lot of things that it was hard to see. And so, yeah, I can see those things now, and I'm believing that the vision will continue to come online with time and with more growth
Yeah.
and more evolution. Yeah. Thank you.
So that story is ongoing. Yeah.
It is ongoing. Yeah. I have marching orders. So,
So
mhm.
once we finished up your body scan and we got all the answers to your questions, then my role as the facilitator is to bring you out. So
Mhm.
I counted you out. You came up very nice, no complications. And I usually ask, the first question I ask when a client comes out is, how long do you think you were gone? So it was interesting. I had the experience of when we started your session, the sun was just going down in Asheville. We had the window open, and the light that was coming in from the sun was what was providing the light in the space. So as the session unfolded, the light disappeared. And so
Yes.
I found myself counting you out by the flashlight on my phone in a dark space. But that's what the session took, and I was so grateful for the opportunity. When you came out, you want to share a little bit about that experience coming out and the time we spent together before I was on my way.
Well, coming out, it didn't feel like it had been as long as it was. I was kind of surprised by the time. And yeah, we just briefly, you asked me what I remembered, and I felt like I remembered a lot, but listening back on the recording, I realized that there was a lot that I didn't remember. And listening on the recording, I have the feeling of being there. So, like when my higher self was speaking, really I was getting downloads of information and I was simply channeling basically that information. But when I go back and listen to my recording, I'm actually there again. I can feel what it feels like to get those downloads. I can feel what it feels like to know my answers, not just what did I say on my recording, but I'm actually there again, much like I was there again as a child in that house. I'm there. And so that's been really pivotal to me is to have that recording. I cherish that recording. And I'm so grateful to you for that because it takes me back to that moment, was so powerful. Yeah. And I can be in that power again. It feels great.
Awesome. Thank you for all of that. Thank you for your share.
Yeah.
Thank you for being vulnerable and showing up.
Thank you.
So I want to invite just any final thoughts. I know you introduced yourself by sharing how you came to QHHT and Dolores Cannon, and you shared a little bit about your career as a nurse practitioner and
Mm.
how you found yourself at some point in that career wanting for something different, or at least feeling the discontent of the limitations of that role. You know, that you were basically like a prescriber and always in a system, the healthcare system that we currently have, bound up by the need to locate symptoms, speak to those symptoms, collect them together in a diagnosis, and then treat that diagnosis. So you found yourself lacking maybe in some skills to really connect with your clients emotionally and find out what was really going on for them. And QHHT offered you a different experience.
Mm.
So I want to invite you to share a little bit of final thoughts about why is it important for people to understand what is possible in a QHHT session, and how do those possibilities contrast with what is available to a patient receiving healthcare in our current system from doctors, nurse practitioners like yourself?
There's no comparison. They're on completely different dimensions. Completely, this medicine is here. It's in it, and it is. so much. It misses so much. So much of what QHHT does is taps into that energetic body, the space in us that holds the symptoms. And medicine glosses over all of that. Even I believe traditional talk therapy. I feel like it doesn't compare to QHHT. Um, with QHHT, we're talking to the part of you that knows everything that's ever happened to you. It's recorded, every memory you've had since the brainstem was formed. It's there. All the memories are there. And that's what we're tapping into, the part of ourselves that loves us and knows everything about us and wants us to have a good life. And so, yeah, there is no comparison. There is zero comparison, and every person should have a QHHT session. It teaches you how to talk to the part of yourself, and after you've had a session, that you know what it feels like to tap into that part. And it's so powerful. There's no comparison, none at all. They're completely different lanes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And thank you for bringing up that point. It is, it's sort of laughable what a terrible business model QHHT is, because it is really possible that through one session, that powerful connection that is made direct and clear with your higher self, like that's the whole intention of QHHT, is to put you in touch with that part of yourself, to give you the experience of having that clear and direct connection so that when you listen back to the recording, just as you talked about, you know what it feels like, you know what it
Mhm.
sounds like, you know what you can perceive its presence and its absence. Those are like soul evolution level learnings. And that can be accomplished in one QHHC session. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, to not have the um, assurance of a returning client, makes some people worried about
Mm.
security moving forward, or like both client and practitioner, like, is this enough? Because we've been taught that, like, going back and back and back and back and back, whether it's in therapy or to a physician for like maintenance care, what QHHT does is put you in the driver's seat of your life where you should be, maybe,
Right.
maybe where we should have been all along. And
Yeah.
that is something that deeply inspires me. And just listening to you share about it, I can tell that it deeply inspires you. Uh,
Yeah.
the potentials for this modality to change people's lives and put them on the
Yeah.
course that their soul intended them for to be on. And
Mm.
life really has a way, life and its experiences really can have a way sometimes with knocking us really far off that path. And QHHT is such a beautiful opportunity to put you back in contact with you and get you walking step by step back onto the path that you were intended to walk. And I'm here
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Something was coming to me as you were talking. It's like you embody that energy of that higher self. And it does, it puts you in touch with it. And like a muscle memory, now that I've been there, I know what that feels like. I can go there again. I can create those spaces for myself. I can listen to my recording. I can go back there. And what a gift that is, to be able to go back to that place where you're congruent with those real palpable feelings that come through and those downloads when you're in a session. Yeah. It's big time. It's big stuff.
It's big time. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think that this conversation is really going to touch people. And thanks for showing up to it. Thanks for being so transparent and vulnerable.
Yeah.
It was such a magnificent experience to be the witness to your QHHT session. That was such a gift to me, Jennifer. Thank you.
And I want to add, I'm sorry, I want to add that my higher self had a message for you too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And so that was really powerful to feel that message come through to me with such conviction. Um, as it was speaking to you.
Yeah,
Um, it was very powerful. Yeah, that was a win-win. I always learn something when I do a session. And that message coming through it was powerful. Yeah.
powerful. And that was the first time I had had an experience where client's higher self spoke directly to me. And that was also a gift I didn't expect, and I carry with me forever. I was so grateful to be
Um,
introduced to you in that experience, and your higher self seemed to want to honor that in me,
yes.
and I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. I'm grateful
Yeah.
and changed. So thank you so much.
Thanks for this. Bye.